Good evening. Tonight we will be doing another Magic the Gathering video. I have a pre-release kit for Dominaria United. And I will open the packs inside with you. So this is my pre-release kit. I had gotten another one to play last night, and I had made my deck, and I will say it was probably the worst one I've ever made, but that's okay. I still had a lot of fun. So I couldn't seem to find a really good little theme or anything to build my deck around. I don't know if I just didn't have very good cards or what the case was. I didn't get any of the bigger ones. I don't usually look, at the cards before the pre-release. I think they come out, ahead of time or whatever, but I like to be surprised, I guess, for better or worse. I don't know, I think it's just a little more fun that way. I'm not a real, hardcore kind of player, but I still had a lot of fun. It seemed like there were some reprinting of kind of previous concepts. I just started playing this past year, so in the large scheme of things, I'm a fairly new player. So some of that stuff, I wasn't really around when it was newer, but anyway, this is my kit, so let's take a look. So this one has another one of those things that you rip off. I'm going to rip this off camera because it's very, very noisy. Alright, so here is the pre-release kit. It's a nice, beautiful box. There's like a land with some clouds and water. Got little cutouts here. These little kind of cutouts on the side too. I think you can use them for tokens or counters or whatever, but I never really use them for anything. So again, you have kind of a really like rich looking land on the bottom and kind of a beautiful sun and some white fluffy clouds and blue sky and kind of a stained glass theme throughout this one. I ended up getting one of all of the new lands, which I really like. They're so beautiful, the full art ones. I've definitely been a really big fan of the full art lands that they've been coming out with the last few sets. So let's open this up. So the art looks a lot more beautiful and full. You can see the rays of the sun kind of peeking through there. So ooh, yay, I got a black dice this time. Red's my favorite color, but black is definitely a very close runner-up. So the one I got last night was green, and I feel like I always get the green dice, so I'm happy to see the black. Oh my goodness. I'm really happy about that. Liliana of the Veil. Oh my goodness. Yay. So after I had played last night, I had kind of looked to see what some of the other cards would have been. I didn't feel like I got a lot of really good ones in the kit that I had last night. But this was one from the list that I had seen. It's not the art I think that I would prefer, but I still really like it. So yay. Very excited about that. So I'm gonna just cut the top off really quick here and take a peek at it. So I have a Liliana of the Veil. She's my favorite character, I guess. So it's a one colorless, or one generic, sorry, and two black. Legendary Planeswalker Liliana. So the +1 is each player discards a card. The -2 is target player sacrifices a creature. And the -6, separate all permanents target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice. I like that a lot. So, very cool. I'm quite excited about that. I kind of wish I had had this last night. That would have been great. Alright. And then of course, just kind of a really pretty like card separator. You can put them like in the boxes and stuff. I always really like these. to snag that number, go right ahead. So, first come. So I really like these little, I don't know, guide things to building a deck that it comes with. Just kind of a really, I don't know, standard sort of, if you've never done it before, or I don't tend to go to a lot of them. I mostly just bring them home and play them at home. I always get really stressed out because I'm not a really, I don't know, I feel like I'm a very new player in the wide world of Magic, so I'm just not as quick when it comes to like deck building and all that, so I always feel a little stressed out. So playing at home is just kind of takes some of that pressure off. I can make slower decisions on what I want in the deck. So we have Dominaria United, so kind of on the bottom there. And let's see, we have Joda, 4,000-year-old immortal archmage who's hungry to learn. He acquired knowledge from all corners of Dominaria. Teferi, planeswalker with control over time and a wry sense of humor, saving lives in the present to atone for his sins in the past. And of course, Jaya, elder planeswalker and master pyromancer, who's been active since the Ice Age, determined to protect her home. Karin, silver golem, planeswalker, magical artificer, will stop at nothing to destroy the Phyrexians he accidentally unleashed. Denetha Capuchin, brave Benalish knight and daughter of Benalia's highest house. Her fight against the Phyrexians is now personal. And then Ajani Goldmane, Leonin planeswalker with healing and protective powers, stalwart friend, mentor, and defender of the weak. So that's kind of neat. You can kind of see all of the characters. Alright, so the rest of these are just packs, so I think I'm going to just take them off camera here for a minute and then cut the tops off. I find them very, very noisy, and we don't want them too noisy. Alright, I'm going to move these to the side for just a minute so I can get my playmat out. goodbye promo card up here in the corner. And let's grab our first pack. So it has a card on there. Draft booster. I think I probably got like 4 of these last night. It's a toxic abomination. 1 generic, 1 black, a Phyrexian zombie. When toxic abomination enters the battlefield, you lose 2 life. Deep in the forgotten reaches of Urborg, ancient Phyrexian monstrosities shamble endlessly, putrid ichor leaking from their rusted forms. 3-2. Impulse. I got one of these too. I liked the art on this one. 1 generic, 1 blue. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put 1 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. I've always made snap decisions. I'm just better at making the right ones now that I am older and wiser. Teferi. Take up the shield. 1 white, 1 generic, an instant. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains lifelink and indestructible until the end of turn. Damage and effects that say destroy, don't destroy it. You are all part of my pride. As long as I live, I will protect you. Broken Wings. I got that one too, and I really liked the art on it. I found the artwork on this to be really colorful and kind of beautiful. 2 generic, 1 green. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Sarah guides our shots true. Also, I just tuned the cannons. Tiana. Furious Bellow. 1 generic, 1 red. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn, and scry 1. Scry means you look at the top card of your library. You may put that card on the bottom of your library. Minotaurs sometimes pretend to be lost in a battle rage, leading their opponents to underestimate their cleverness. I got a lot of these ones too. Shadow Prophecy. 2 generic, 1 black. Domain. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among the lands you control. Put up to 2 of them in your hand and rest into your graveyard. You lose 2 life. Lord Windgrace, grant me wisdom. Separate my instants. A Bog Badger. 2 generic, 1 green. I like how his shadow looks really like dark. A Kicker. So you may pay an additional 1 black as you cast the spell to gain the Kicker ability. When Bog Badger enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, creatures you control gain menace until end of turn. A creature with menace can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. A land, Crystal Grotto. When Crystal Grotto enters the battlefield, scry 1. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card on the bottom of your library. You can tap to add 1 colorless, and then you can pay 1 and tap to add 1 mana of any color. I like that. So really, essentially, it's any color you want. You do have to pay 1, but if you have, extra, you can use it to get a color that maybe you don't have. I noticed a lot of the cards with this set had kickers, but the kicker color was different, than this one. So if you maybe had a card and you were playing another color, but you didn't necessarily have the mana for the kicker, you could use something like that to get the kicker, which is nice. Phyrexian Espionage. Oh, that's cool. It's like a crow or something up there. 2 generic, 1 blue. So this has a kicker. You can pay 1 colorless, or 1 generic, sorry, and 1 black. You may pay an additional 1 colorless, 1 black as you cast this spell. Draw 2 cards. If this spell was kicked, each opponent discards a card. Even if they're hunting for sleeper agents, who looks twice at a bird? Rona. A sorcery, Scout of the Wilderness. 2 generic, 1 green. So this kicker is a 1 generic, 1 white. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. If this card was kicked, create a 2/1/1 create 2/1/1 white soldier creature tokens. I tried to build my deck around this whole 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. I noticed there was a lot of those, but it did not work out well for me. Protect the Negotiators. That's some really cool art. I did not get that one last night. 1 generic, 1 blue. So this has a kicker of a white. So if this spell was kicked, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1 for each creature you control. Ooh, that could be really good. Especially if you have a lot of creatures. I like that. Frost Fist Strider. An elemental giant. 3 generic, 2 blue. So this has a ward 2, which means whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless the player pays 2. And that player, not you. When Frost Fist Strider enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. If a permanent with a stun counter would become untapped, remove 1 from it instead. A 4/4. Ooh, Nail Avizola Aeronaut. That's a really cool art. It's like one of those full or borderless or whatever you call them. 2 generic, 1 green, 1 blue. A legendary creature, Elf Scout. So she has flying. I'm always a big fan of flying. So this also has Domain. Whenever Nile, Evisoa, Aeronaut deals combat damage to a player, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among the lands you control. Put up to one of them on top of your library, and the rest on top or on the bottom in a random order. Then, if there are 5 basic land types among the lands you control, draw a card. I guess I don't know if I personally like that, but it is a pretty card. Temporal Firestorm. Jayla on there. It's kind of cool art. So this is a kicker of a 1 generic, 1 white, and or 1 generic and 1 blue. Choose up to X creatures and or planeswalkers you control, where X is the number of times this spell was kicked. Those permanents phase out. Temporal Firestorm deals 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. That's cool. And then just a land, plains, and then a token creature soldier. Let's get another. Battle Rage Blessing. 1 generic, 1 black, an instant. Target creature gains Death Touch and indestructible until end of turn, meaning that damage and effects that say destroy don't destroy it. Since when is it cheating to give one side an unfair advantage? Braids. Academy Wall. I really like the art on that one. It's like a castle or a wall. So it's a creature wall, defender. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Once the Society of Mishra took control, the Tolarian Academy at Lut Nam became a haven for dark research. Stole for Time. That's interesting. 2 generic, 1 white, an instant, with a kicker, of course. Tap up to 2 target creatures. If this spell was kicked, put a stun counter on each of those creatures. And then draw a card. Well, that's actually pretty good. That's 3, I guess, to cast, but I kind of like that card. Hexbane Tortoise. 2 generic, 1 green, with a ward of 2, and it also has Enlist. So enlist, as this creature attacks, you may tap a non-attacking creature you control without summoning sickness. When you do, add its power to this creature until end of turn. So you can kind of soup up your creatures. Viashino Branch Rider. Kicker, of course, 2 generic, 1 green. Haste, if Viashi, I can never say that one, Viashino Branch Rider was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it. And then you can pay 2 and red Viashino Branch Rider gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I kinda like that guy. Shield Wall Sentinel. An artifact creature golem with Defender. When Shield Wall Sentinel enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with Defender. Reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. Unit Alpha 6, locking into position. I always really like the Tree Folk. I don't know why, but it reminds me a lot of like Lord of the Rings. Let's see. Magnagoth Sentry. 3 generic, 1 green. Creature Tree Folk with Reach, so it kind of has like flying. You can block a flying creature with Reach, if I'm remembering right. When one of Yavimea's enormous Managolf trees awakens into the Tree Folk, it is a towering presence of physical strength and ancient wisdom. 4/4. Thrill of Possibility. 1 generic, 1 red, an instant. As an additional cost to cast a spell, discard a card. Draw 2. The most delicious ingredients are often the most dangerous to obtain. And then there's a really long word here that I definitely can't pronounce. The Underworld Cookbook. So this is Idyllic Beachfront. You can tap to add a white or a blue, but this one enters the battlefield tapped. In the tradition of the original Talarian Academy, every Talarian campus is built near a body of water. Relic of Legends. 3 generic. An artifact. Tap to add 1 mana of any color. I like that. Tap an untapped legendary creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. Yeah, I definitely like that. If the worst parts of history can repeat themselves, it stands to reason that the best parts can as well. Teferi. I think I'm gonna use that somewhere for sure. Knights of Dusk's Hollow. 1 generic, 1 black. Creature, human knight. He has menace, so 2 or more blockers for that guy. Your opponents can gain life or can't gain life. Ooh, I really wouldn't want this guy against my my life counter deck. 1 generic, 1 black. Knight of Dusk's Shadow gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Djinn of the Fountain. Oh, that's really cool art. I didn't get that guy. Bit expensive though. 4 generic and 2 blue. With flying, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, choose 1. Djinn of the Fountain gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and exile Djinn of the Fountain. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, and scry 1. Ooh, that's really pretty. It is a 1 generic, 1 red, 1 green, Maria, Scholar of Antiquity, legendary creature, Elf Artificer. Untap to or tap an untapped non-token artifact you control to add a green. Tap tap 2 untapped non-token artifacts you control, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Why fear Artiface? Is it not also of this world? That's kinda cool. And then a Shield Wall Sentinel. I think we got one of these already. If I remember right. Yes, we did. It was just not a foil. Oh yay. This is one of the full art lands, and I really love them. They remind me of like a stained glass window, and they're really pretty. And then a token. Just a one-sider. Another Academy Wall. Another Stall for Time. Another Hexbane Tortoise. Another Vaishino Branch Rider. Ooh, a Splatter Goblin. One generic, one black. Creature, Phyrexian Goblin. When Splatter Goblin dies, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. For some, perfection is but a single moment when form and purpose converge. Rona. I got a whole bunch of these last night. Shore Up. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Untap it. It can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponent controls. Home raid shells are adapted to the crushing pressure of the deepest depths. On land, their sturdiness seems supernatural. Sunbathing Root Wallow. I think we had one of these too. Or no. I think I'm remembering from last night maybe. A 1 generic, 1 green, a lizard with domain, 3 and a green. Until end of turn, Sunbathing Root Wallow gets +1/+1 for each basic land type among lands you control. Activate once each turn. A Root Wallow's prey includes anything or anyone that wanders into view. Radiant Grove. So this is a green and a white, but it's tapped when it enters the battlefield land. Yavameya's inhabitants are dedicated to protecting its unspoiled jungle from the scourge of artifice. A Soaring Drake. 2 generic and 1 blue. Flying. Just a 2/3 creature. The already spectacular views from the towers of the College of Lutnam are sometimes enhanced by glimpses of drakes diving into the ocean to devour small sharks. And then another Jinn of the Fountain. Jodiah's Codex. Oh, that's really cool. Look at that guy. So it has domain, So 5, you can tap, draw a card. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each basic land type among lands you control. If you remember nothing else of our world's history, remember this: Phyrexians can be defeated. Yoda. Garna, Bloodfist of Keld. 1 black, 2 red, and a generic. Legendary creature, Human Berserker. Whenever another creature you control dies, draw a card. If it was attacking, otherwise, Garna Bloodfist of Keld deals 1 damage to each opponent. Let's see who gets more kills. Rada. Kinda like that. Shadowrite Priest. 1 generic, 1 black. Other clerics you control get +1/+1, and then for 3 and 2 black you can tap, sacrifice another cleric, and search your library for a black creature card. Put it into the battlefield, then shuffle. That's handy. Kind of acts as like a tutor that doesn't go away. I like that. Backstabbing is common within demonic cults, so we are front and side stabbing. Ooh, look at that. Sheoldred the Apocalypse. Oh, and it's a foil too. Look at that. I like that art. 2 generic, 2 black, Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. Gix failed, I shall not. That's a nice card. I can think of a few things I wouldn't mind doing with that one. A Phyrexian Praetor. And then a very beautiful plains. And then a token creature bird. Oops. Vine Shaper Prodigy. 1 generic, 1 green. A kicker, 1 generic and 1 blue. When Vine Shaper Prodigy enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them on the bottom of your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. A Goblin Picker. 1 generic, 1 red. Pay 1 red and tap. Discard a card. Draw a card. Countless generations of Shivan goblins have worked in the Maya rig, giving them an unparalleled eye for useful relics. Aggressive Sabotage. 2 generic, 1 black, kicker a red. Target player discards 2 cards. If the spell was kicked, it deals 3 damage to that player. Squeeze orders basically came down to attack the squishy parts. Kinda like that card. Impede Momentum. 1 generic, 1 blue. Tap target creature and put 3 stun counters on it. If a permanent with a stun counter would become untapped, remove 1 from it instead, and then a scry 1. I like that too. Clockwork Drawbridge, artifact creature wall, 1 white. So it has defender, and then for 2 generic and 1 white, you can tap to add it to tap a target creature. That could get pretty annoying if you were tapping your opponent's creatures. Argreva's Clockwork Fortifications are the stuff of legend, reminding all on Dominaria that ingenuity has saved them before and can do it so again. And then Yavamea's Sojourner, 7 generic, 1 green, a tree folk. So it has domain, and it's a 4/6. To the long-lived tree folk, the Phyrexians invading again after only 3 centuries was as though they never left. And then a Scout of the Wilderness. I feel like I had one of those earlier. I might be remembering last night on that one too. 2 generic and 1 green. Kicker, 1 generic and a white. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. If this spell was kicked, create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. And then Contaminated Aquifer and Land Island Swamp. So you can tap to add a blue or a black. Contaminated Aquifer enters the battlefield tapped. The caves stretch further than anyone knows, and the terrible legacy of Yawmoth lurks in every shadow. And then Lightning Strike, 1 generic, 1 red. Instant. Lightning Strike deals 3 damage to any target. Danitha watched in shock as electricity lanced from Jaya's fingertips, obliterating the charging Phyrexians. "What?" said the pyromancer serenely. "I told you I'd learned some new tricks." Phyrexian Rager, 2 generic and 1 black, a Phyrexian Horror. I'm kind of working on a horror deck, so let's see what this says. When Phyrexian Rager enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. That might fit in with what I'm trying to do. Might have to use it. Resist if you must. It makes no difference. As with Mirrodin, your world will bow to Phyrexia. Shieldred. Ooh, look at that. Sengir Connoisseur, 3 generic, 2 black, a vampire creature, flying. Whenever 1 or more creatures die, put a 1/1 counter on Sengir Connoisseur. This ability triggers once per turn. We cannot afford to let the Phyrexians win. They taste terrible. I kinda like that card. Nishoba Brawler, 1 generic and 1 green. Creature cat warrior with trample and domain. Nishoba's Brawler's power is equal to the number of basic land types among the lands you control. Though native to cold climates, the Nishoba have adapted to more temperate climates since the Ice Age ended. Vohar, Vodalian Desecrator, a black and a blue legendary creature, Phyrexian Merfolk Wizard. You can tap to draw a card, then discard a card. If you discarded an instant or sorcery card, this way each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And then paying 2 colorless, or generic, sorry. Sacrifice Volhar, Vodalian, Desecrator. You may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that card would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Activate only as a sorcery. Karn's Silex. Let's go. Karn's Silex enters the battlefield tapped. Players can't pay life to cast spells or to activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. And then X and tap. Exile Karn's Silex. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X or less. Activate only as a sorcery. I kinda like that. And then a mountain and a soldier token. We have 2 left. Bone Splinters. Oh, that's a really cool art. So it is 1 black and a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature. So it is just a destroy target creature. I'm always a big fan of destroy target creature cards. Steel may be more durable, but nothing channels the spite of the unjustly dead like bone braids. Negate 1 generic and 1 blue, an instant. Counter target non-creature spell. It's frustrating, isn't it, to be so weak and ineffectual? Don't worry, you'll be complete soon enough. Heroic Charge, 2 generic, 2 white, an instant. Kicker, 1 generic, 1 red. Creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, those creatures also gain trample until end of turn. For Keld, for Benalia, for Dominaria. There were a lot of instants and sorceries and things in this one. Colossal Growth. 1 generic, 1 green. Kicker is a red. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, instead that creature gets +4/+4, gains trample and haste until end of turn. Wow, I really like that. And it's only 2. That's a good card, I think. Jaya's Firenado. I really like the art on that. You can see like a guy getting incinerated or something there. 4 generic, 1 red. Jaya's Firenado deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Scry 1. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card on the bottom of your library. For all their supposed advances, the Phyrexians still aren't fireproof. Jaya Ballard. The Gibbering Barricade. 2 generic, 1 black, creature nightmare wall. Has defender. And then 2 generic, 1 black. Sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Who needs stone walls when you can hide behind an impenetrable barricade of screaming nightmares? Braids. 2/4. Salvaged Mana Worker, artifact creature construct. 1. Add 1 mana of any color. Activate only once each turn. I like that. When weapons of war are repurposed for peace ends, you know society has advanced. Joda. Flowstone Kavu. 2 generic 1 red creature Kavu with menace. And for 1 red, Flowstone Kavu gets +1, -1 until end of turn. The Kavu adjusted easily to the Wrathy overlay, incorporating the invasive Flowstone into their own adaptable forms. An Elfhame Worm. 4 generic 1 green with vigilance and trample of 5/4. The worms consume everything in their path, so the elves make sure that their path goes through as many Phyrexians as possible. Vanquisher's Axe. 1 artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, and then it's 2 to equip. When a Kaldan takes a trophy from an enemy, it's usually something that they can use to kill more enemies. Hero's Heirloom. Artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. As long as equipped creature is legendary, it has trample and haste. Equipped 2. A blade is just a tool. Its power comes from a hand that wields it. I like that. It's only 2 to cast, and I feel like that's a lot of good stuff. A Monstrous War Leech. 3 generic and 1 black. A creature leech horror. Kicker is a blue. As Monstrous War Leech enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, mill 4 cards. Heirloom Battle Hymn. 2 generic, 1 red. Instant kickers a white. Heirloom Battle Hymn deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If the spell was kicked, you gain 4 life. The magical echoes of the Heirloom Mountain range greatly increases the potency of spells based on song or speech. Oh, look at that. Solkanar the Tainted. 2 generic, 1 blue, black, and a red. Legendary creature, elemental demon. At the beginning of your end step, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Draw a card. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Solkanar the Tainted deals 3 damage, or 3 damage to up to 1 other target creature or planeswalker. Exile Solkanar, then return it to the battlefield under its opponent's control. I don't know about that. I don't like that last line. And then here's one of the full island ones. Aren't they really beautiful? Kind of that stained glass look. This is the last one. Ooh, that's really pretty. Right off the bat. 1 generic, 1 blue, a Merfolk Wizard. Tap to add 1 blue, spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell or a kicked spell. Ships suspected of carrying Shieldred's agents have a tendency to drift far off course as they sail through the Volga Sea. Samite Herbalist, 1 generic, 1 white, creature human cleric. Whenever Samite Herbalist becomes tapped, you gain 1 life and scry. Look at the top. Oh yeah, we already know it's scry. Spiritual wholeness is not something that you can give to yourself. It is attained only through the divine blessing of healing another. Bite down. That guy. Like a dinosaur. 1 generic, 1 green. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creatures or planeswalkers you don't control. Yavimaya takes care of herself. The Kavu are evidence of this. What does your coalition offer that Forest cannot provide? Jensen Carthalion. Get 2 Amplifier, 1 generic, 1 red, kicker, 2 generic, and a blue. When Get 2 Amplifier enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return target creature and opponent controls to its owner's hand. Whenever you cast an instant or a sorcery spell, Get 2 Amplifier gets +2 until end of turn. Just gonna go down here. Deathbloom Gardener is my foil, 2 generic and a green. Creature Elf Druid. Death Touch. Tap to add 1 mana of any color. I can provide the coalition with poisons that will break down Phyrexian machinery as easily as they stop the heart. Anointed Peacekeeper. Human cleric with vigilance. As Anointed Peacekeeper enters the battlefield, look in opponent's hand. They choose any card name. Spells your opponent casts with chosen name cost 2 more to cast. Activated abilities of sources with chosen name cost 2 more to activate, unless they're mana abilities. That could be good. And then Balmor Battlemage Captain. 1 blue, 1 red. Flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain trample until end of turn. Writhing Necromass, 6 generic, 1 black, zombie giant. This spell casts 1 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard with Death Touch. We sent 3 of our best legions. You're telling me no one came back? Tori de Avenant. Voda Sea Scavenger. 2 generic, 1 blue. A domain. When Voda Sea Scavenger enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among the types you control. And smash to dust. Choose 1. Destroy target artifact. Destroy target creature with Defender. Warhost Frenzy. 2 generic, 1 red. Kicker's black. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, whenever a creature you control dies this turn, draw a card. Kildans may be outnumbered, but they are never outmatched. for a little bit of the rush at the end. My battery is running out of my camera, so it is time to say goodnight. Thank you for joining me.